Friends, I'm extremely proud to welcome a true friend of the Jewish community, Lord Ian Austin.
Thank you very much. You know, the truth is that, I mean, it's very kind, his words to me, but there were many more than one person standing up for the Jewish community when Jeremy Corbyn was in charge of the Labour Party. But look, friends, colleagues, the first thing I want to do today is pay my tribute to the victims of the barbaric attacks a fortnight ago. In 2017, I visited Nir Oz, one of the small kibbutzim attacked by Hamas. And the survivors estimate that between a quarter and a third of the 350 residents were killed or kidnapped. Defenceless families tied together and burnt to death. Babies beheaded, young women raped, old ladies, Holocaust survivors kidnapped. Youngsters slaughtered at a music festival. It would be the equivalent of 2,000 British youngsters killed at Glastonbury. What sort of response would the British people demand? More rockets aimed at a fortnight in Israel than the whole of the UK in the Blitz. More Jewish people killed on a single day than any other day since the Holocaust. This is not, as Hamas claim, self-defense. It is brutal terrorism, plain and simple, just the same as ISIS. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are people here this evening who had relatives murdered in Israel a fortnight ago, and I want to express my condolences to them, and pay my respects to all of the victims. You know, I could never understand Holocaust denial. I could never understand this. But over the past fortnight, social media awash with claims. People saying that the survivors are lying, claiming babies weren't actually killed, even saying that Israel killed its own citizens. Utterly disgusting. The modern equivalent of Holocaust denial. Now, the second thing I want to do is offer my prayers for the safe return of the hostages and the Israeli soldiers who are going to have to go into Gaza to rescue them and deal with Hamas. And the third thing is to say to the Jewish community assembled here this evening, we stand with you in total solidarity and complete support.
Thank you.
Now, I want to thank Gideon and the whole of the CAA team, almost all of them volunteers, not just for inviting me to speak this evening. It's a great privilege, but not just for that. I want to thank you, Gideon, and your team for the work you do all year round. And I want to thank all of you for supporting the CAA. Their work, your support, never more important than it is today. Never more important. Now, I promise I'll do everything I can to stand up in Parliament and in the media to speak up for the Jewish community, to defend the Middle East's only democracy, the world's only Jewish state, and its right to defend itself. And I promise you this as well, we're going to campaign against Iran, we're going to campaign against the Iranian dictatorship, the terrorism it sponsors across the region, and we're going to demand the complete proscription of the IRGC. Now, let's be clear about this. The terrible condition of people in Gaza cannot be laid at Israel's door. It cannot. When Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005, it had a vibrant economy, open borders, control over imports and exports, plans for a seaport, and discussions for an airport. In came Hamas, funded by Iran, launched a coup, banned elections, executed its rivals, and used the Gaza Strip as a base to attack Israel. Israel was forced to defend itself with border posts, with fences and walls, not, as Israel's detractors claim, a blockade, but as a defence. Now, according to the United Nations, and we all know this is true, Hamas stores its rockets in schools, hospitals and residential buildings. Where Israel uses its weapons to protect its people, Hamas use the people to protect the weapons. Now I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, we all know the next few weeks will be awful. War always is. Innocent people always pay the price. But isn't it absolutely clear that Israel has no choice but to defend its people? And I'll tell you this, I've talked to British Army officers about this. There is no army in the world that takes as much care to protect civilian life than the IDF. I want to read to you what General Mickey Edelstein said yesterday. He said this: they came to kill and burn civilians, not military personnel, civilians. We told civilians to evacuate northern Gaza. Yes, we go in, and there are civilian casualties, but we are not looking for kids to kill. We are not looking to kill hostages because they are not walking fast enough. We do not find kids and then force them to go and ask their neighbours to come out, and then when they do, kill them. And this is the difference. This is why there is no equivalence between a democratic country defending its people and the Hamas terrorists. Israel's aim is to minimise civilian casualties. Hamas aim to kill as many civilians as they can. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference. Now I'm afraid, and we all know this is true, disgracefully we're seeing an increase in anti-Semitic incidents here in the UK, and this is why the CAA, the CST have never been more needed. Since the attacks, more anti-Semitic incidents recorded in a fortnight than in any other fortnight on record. Restaurants vandalised, Jewish students reporting racial abuse, schools closed. It's very important, every single racist incident reported to the CAA team, the CST and the police. We've also seen, and let's be honest about this, disgraceful support for terrorism at marches, in speeches and on social media. Last week in London, a rally organised by the racist extremist Hizb ut-Tahrir, at which people held the banner with the slogan, "Muslim armies rescue the people of Palestine." A speaker was filmed asking, what is the solution to liberate people in the concentration camp? It's unbelievable they would use this word, the concentration camp called Palestine. In response, several men in the crowd shouted, "Jihad, jihad, jihad." Does anybody think for a minute they were using that word to mean some sort of spiritual inner struggle? In that context, it is obviously a call to wage war on Israel, on Jewish people. We all know that. And when they chant from the river to the sea, we all know as well, this isn't a call for two states living in peace side by side. Hearing that, we all know it is quite clearly a call for the eradication of Israel. That's what it is. Now hearing these chants on the streets of London is completely unacceptable. Incitement must be dealt with. It's obviously difficult for 1,000 police to deal with 100,000 people on a demonstration. And I do want to say this, I do want to be fair, the new commissioner, and I know this is true, the new commissioner is a good guy. I know he takes these issues seriously, and I know he wants to sort them out. The last thing we need is a row between the Met and ministers. So if there are gaps in the law, we have the King's Speech coming up, and the government must give the police any powers they need to deal with this.
It's already got them. Public Order Act.
Now, in conclusion, let me say this. Israel must eliminate the terror threat posed by Hamas. Hamas must be removed from power. Hamas must release immediately all the hostages. No conditions, no conditions, no conditions. Bring them home, bring them home, bring them home, bring them home. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Jewish community in Britain must be protected, and those who commit hate crimes and express support for Hamas proscribed. The final thing I just want to say is this. Please do not underestimate the support for the Jewish community and in fact for Israel amongst ordinary, decent British people. The majority of people from all communities are decent and reasonable, and they're just as appalled by terrorism and extremism and racism as the rest of us. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for everything you do to stand up for Israel, to stand up for the Jewish community, and for community relations in our country. And finally, and please forgive my terrible pronunciation, but I just want to say this. Am Israel High. Let's all say it. Let's all say it together. Am Israel High. Thank you very much.